ASAP Rocky just obliterated the internet with one piece of fabric. One piece of fabric, and he didn't even have to open his mouth to do it. The man walked on stage, started jumping around like he always does. And the second that shirt lifted, hip-hop Twitter went into a full-blown meltdown that hasn't stopped since. We're talking trending tabs broken, group chats torched, boomers on Facebook clutching their pearls so hard you can hear it through the screen. The reaction has been nuclear. And I'm talking the kind of nuclear that makes record labels send out emergency PR memos before the sun even comes up. And Boosie Badass Bro really woke up, saw this photo, and chose violence against his own blood pressure, against his own peace, against his own legacy. Imagine being that mad at a piece of cloth. Imagine. Before we get into it, subscribe. Don't miss it.
Nah.
Here's the rundown of what actually happened. Rake Mayers, ASAP Rocky himself, hit the stage during his Don't Be Dumb World Tour with what appeared to be a black thong riding high above the waistband of his baggy pants, and the footage started ripping across every platform during the height of the online frenzy. The clip dropped on Instagram first, then TikTok grabbed it, then X went feral, and within hours it was on every gossip blog from The Shade Room to Baller Alert. The tour was announced earlier by Live Nation and officially kicked off not long afterward. So, this is a man right in the middle of his biggest run, yet with cameras on him every single night. And Boosie Badass really thought this was the moment to start typing in all caps. Bro picked the wrong night to be on his Instagram. Now, let's pull up the actual receipts that show exactly how this whole thing went down because the quotes alone are crazy. Let's start with the loudest voice in the room, and y'all already know who that is. Boosie Badass, Torrance Hatch Jr. for the unfamiliar, posted a full all-caps rant on Instagram that reads like a man having a religious crisis in the Walmart parking lot. He wrote, and I quote, "This got to be AI. I know this _ got a thong on. This got to be AI. If not, who just said they go start wearing thongs?
Me.
I told y'all. SH. I feel sorry for the little boys in this world. When are we going to say this is enough? Yo, let me just sit with that for a second. When I read this, I had to put my phone down and walk to the kitchen. Then he kept going. Can a woman with a voice speak up? Damn. This is the worst generation ever. This is just sick. Rappers wearing thongs is about to be a fashion. I'm going back to sleep. This world coming to an end.
Bruh.
Bro said. What? I'm going back to sleep. The world is ending. That's the dumbest flex I've ever read in recent memory. This grown man is announcing his sleep schedule in a rant about somebody else's underwear. That's the kind of statement you delete after cooling off and pretend you never made. And yet, here it is, screenshotted by every blog in the game. Now, let's pull up Rocky's own words, because the man has been on record about this exact lifestyle for years. In his Vogue cover interview from years earlier, Rocky stated, and I'm quoting directly, "I want to represent. I want to be a representative on gender norms and fashion." And he made it crystal clear he doesn't believe clothing should be limited by gender rules, which means he's been telling y'all who he was for a very long time, and y'all still acting surprised. Then you got Rihanna's brand itself. Savage x Fenty's official product line. Go check their website right now. I'll wait. Explicitly markets thongs for men. That's not a rumor. That's a product sitting on a retailer page. Rocky's literal baby mother sells the exact garment in question. So, when I heard people screaming why, I'm like, have y'all met his household? Bro lives in a Fenty showroom. Of course, he's modeling the merch. And then comes the comment section reaction from a fan that summed it up perfectly. Quote, "Rihanna, I guess you're wearing the pants since he wearing the thong." That line right there, that's the kind of one-liner that's going to haunt Rocky for the rest of this tour. Twitter screenshotted it. TikTok turned it into a sound. The internet doesn't forget. Now that we've laid out the actual receipts, let's start connecting the dots, because the timeline behind all this is wilder than the quotes themselves. That viral clip dropped during the height of the conversation, but the Baltimore tour stop happened shortly beforehand, meaning somebody in the crowd sat on this video, edited it, and released it at peak engagement hours. That's not an accident. That's somebody who understands the algorithm doing surgical damage. That tour announced by Live Nation and officially launched not long afterward, meaning Rocky is already deep into a multi-city, multi-continent run. The thong wasn't a one-off on a closing night. This is happening at the start of the campaign when ticket sales for later dates are still active. So, either his team is fully behind this aesthetic or somebody on payroll is about to get a very awkward phone call. The Vogue interview, that was years ago. So, when Boosie acts shocked, what he's really telling you is he hasn't been paying attention to Rocky's brand for a very long time. Any smart person watching hip-hop fashion saw this coming. But strategic thinking isn't Boosie's strong suit. It never has been. Now, here's where it gets spicy. Boosie's rant, it's not his first time at this rodeo, and that's the part nobody's talking about loud enough. Back then, he caught major backlash for going after Zia Wade, Dwayne Wade's daughter, with transphobic comments, and Mike Tyson personally pulled him aside on the Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson podcast to ask him why he felt the need to police somebody else's child's identity. Later on, he targeted Lil Nas X with homophobic language after Nas joked about a collab. So, this isn't Boosie having one bad day on the timeline. This is a documented pattern of the same man finding the same camera performing the same outrage. And the timing on this rant, it dropped right after the concert footage hit, meaning Boosie literally rolled out of bed, opened Instagram, saw a viral moment, and decided to insert himself almost immediately. He didn't get asked, he volunteered. So Boosie did this shortly after the clip went viral. That's terrible strategic timing, brah. He turned somebody else's news cycle into his news cycle. Except he forgot that. Feel sorry for the little boys in this world. Read that again. Why did his brain jump straight to children? Rocky is a grown man wearing his own girlfriend's brand on his own stage at his own concert. There are no little boys in this conversation unless Boosie is projecting a fear that lives somewhere deep in his own head. That word choice isn't accidental. That's a Freudian slip wearing all caps Crocs. This is the problem with Boosie. He doesn't read between the lines even when the lines are coming out of his own mouth. Now look at the line. Can a woman with a voice speak up? Pause. He's literally calling for backup from women. The same demographic he doesn't usually credit with cultural authority. That tells you he knows he can't fight this battle solo. He needs reinforcements. That's not the move of a confident man. That's the move of somebody who realized mid-rant that the wind ain't blowing his way no more. And he was AI coping in the same breath. This got to be AI twice. He said it twice. That's denial dressed up as analysis. When you say something is fake 2 times in the same paragraph, you're not analyzing it. You're praying it isn't real. Now flip over to Rocky's side of the forensic table. That outfit, it wasn't random. Baggy pants, baggy shirt, loose cut. The thong was deliberately positioned to ride high enough to be visible when he jumped. Rocky is a Fashion Week regular. He knows exactly where every seam on his body is at any given moment. When that shirt lifted, that wasn't a wardrobe malfunction. That was a wardrobe statement. The man calculated which angles the photographers would catch and dressed for that angle specifically. And the venue choice, Baltimore. Not LA, not New York, not Atlanta, Baltimore. A city with deep traditional hip-hop roots. He could have pulled this look in West Hollywood and gotten a yawn. He pulled it in Baltimore and broke the internet. That's not luck. That's a man who understands where the friction lives and walking directly towards it. And Boosie really didn't catch that. That's embarrassing. While Boosie was reading the headline, Rocky was writing the subtext. This is why Rocky is several moves ahead. Boosie is still figuring out move 1. Now, with all of that laid out, let's see how the media tried to spin this because the way different outlets framed it tells you everything. Baller Alert framed this whole situation as bigger than the outfit. They zoomed out and called it part of a longer conversation about fashion, queerness, masculinity, and who gets to define what a rapper is supposed to look like. They didn't even pretend the thong was the headline. To them, Boosie's reaction was the story. Smart angle. They saw through it. But XXL took a different lane. They leaned into the spectacle, playing up Boosie's "world is coming to an end" energy, framing it as a comedic culture war moment instead of a serious cultural shift. They wanted the clicks, not the conclusion. That's classic XXL. Give the chaos a runway. Let the audience pick a side. The Shade Room and the smaller gossip pages, they went even harder in the other direction, framing it as straight-up clickbait drama. Is it a thong? Is it AI? Is Rihanna behind this? They turned a fashion statement into a tabloid puzzle, which is exactly what their model demands. None of them touched the deeper conversation. Now, some folks in the comments, and I'm talking the loudest Boosie defenders, are pushing this narrative that Rocky is tearing down masculinity and that this is some kind of agenda being shoved on the youth. They want to act like a grown man in his own underwear at his own concert is a national emergency. Here's why that doesn't hold up. Rocky has been on record since the Vogue era. The receipts are public. The brand his partner runs literally manufactures the item. There is no conspiracy. There is no agenda. There's just a grown man wearing what his household sells, and grown adults are losing their minds over fabric. If you still think Boosie has a point after all this evidence, you're just biased, not analytical. Boosie supporters are reaching trying to defend this rant. But here's what nobody in the mainstream media is saying. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. Now, everyone's saying this is a story about ASAP Rocky pushing boundaries, or Boosie being Boosie, or Rihanna influencing her man's closet. Real talk, that's the surface read. That's the lazy take. That's the version that lets everybody pretend nothing is actually happening here. But here's what they won't tell you. Here's the real story behind all this. This whole moment isn't about a thong. It's not even about Rocky. It's about which generation of hip-hop gets to write the next chapter. And Boosie just publicly auditioned for the role of the cautionary tale. Think about it. Hip-hop has always been the most fashion-forward genre in music. Always. From Big Daddy Kane's silk suits to Andre 3000's kilt at the Watch the Throne tour to Young Thug's literal dress on the Jeffrey cover. This culture has been gender-bending its wardrobe for decades. The only thing that changes is the loudness of the pushback. And every single time the artists who pushed boundaries got immortalized. The ones who pushed back against the boundaries, they became footnotes. Andre 3000 wore football pants and a green and yellow blonde wig, and we called him a genius. Kanye wore a leather skirt and started a billion-dollar fashion empire. Thugger wore a dress and dropped one of the most influential mixtapes of his era. The pattern is so clear, it's almost insulting that we still have this conversation. ASAP Rocky represents the old guard's worst nightmare, which is that the old guard is wrong, was always wrong, and history has receipts. And Boosie, bless his heart, he represents the dying half of this argument. He's the version of hip-hop that thinks real masculinity is a costume you can perform. The chains, the bravado, the policing of other men's choices. But here's the cold truth. That version of hip-hop has been losing for a very long time, and Boosie hasn't noticed. The torch has been passed. He's just yelling at the new flame, and the flame doesn't even know he's there. This is a desperate attempt to stay relevant in an era that doesn't need him. Every viral Boosie rant is the same playbook. Find a black artist doing something he doesn't understand. Scream homophobic adjacent panic into the camera. Harvest the engagement. Repeat. Bro is playing checkers while Rocky is playing chess. Every move Boosie makes is exactly what Rocky's PR team would have scripted if they could. Rocky doesn't need to defend the outfit. Boosie defended it for him by making Rocky look like the victim of a generational bully. That's not analysis. That's not commentary. That's a free promotional campaign. We've seen this exact movie before. And Boosie is volunteering for the losing side of history every single time. The mask is slipping. We're finally seeing who Boosie really is. Not a hip-hop OG. Not a voice of the streets, but a man whose entire public brand is built on policing other black men's joy. And that's the truth they don't want you to hear. So, with all of that on the table, the real question becomes, what happens next? Here's what's most likely to happen. Rocky is going to keep the tour rolling, and that thong moment is going to become a signature of the campaign. Mark my words, by the time he hits the next leg of the Don't Be Dumb World Tour, the merch table is going to have a Fendi collab item that nobody saw coming. He's going to lean all the way in because Rocky's whole brand is built on being unbothered. And the louder Boosie screams, the more unbothered Rocky gets to look. When Rocky doesn't even respond, and he won't, Boosie is going to look desperate, screaming into a void that already moved on without him. The silence is going to hurt Boosie more than any diss could. Now, if Rocky does choose to acknowledge it, and there's a small chance he drops a one-liner on stage or in an interview, it's over because Rocky doesn't do dramatic clapbacks. He'll smirk, say something like, "Y'all really worried about my underwear?" And the clip will live forever. Boosie is not ready for what happens if Rocky takes this seriously. He doesn't stand a chance the moment Rocky decides to engage, because Rocky has Rihanna, Vogue, the fashion industry, and an entire generation of young hip-hop fans backing him. Boosie has an Instagram caps lock and a fading bag. Looking at the bigger picture, this is going to be the moment everyone remembers as the line in the sand. Years from now, when we're looking back at the fashion and hip-hop conversation, this is the clip that gets played. And Boosie's rant is going to be the other clip that gets played right next to it, as the example of what not to do. Every time a young rapper pushes a boundary from here forward, somebody's going to pull up Boosie's tweet as the before picture. That's not a legacy you bounce back from. That's the moment everyone remembers as when Boosie's relevance officially died. Wait till the next tour stop. Wait till the next Rocky interview where he's asked about it, and he just shrugs. Wait till Rihanna makes that subtle Instagram story comment that sends the internet spiraling all over again. Wait till the Fendi numbers come out and they're up because Boosie just gave Rihanna's brand the most expensive free advertisement imaginable. When this whole thing settles and the dust finally clears, the people who came out on top are going to be Rocky, Rihanna, and the entire next generation of hip-hop fashion. The person at the bottom of that list, Boosie Badass, watching the culture move on without him in real time, posting his next all-caps rant into a feed where the algorithm has already turned the volume down. He's going to keep typing. The world is going to keep scrolling. And every young black artist watching this play out is going to learn the same lesson. The loud ones aren't the leaders no more. The calm ones are. Whatever path this takes, one thing's already clear. Boosie has already lost. He just doesn't know it yet. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed uncovering the real story, smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss when we expose what everyone else is too scared to say. Ring that bell for notifications. And if you want more truth bombs like this, click on one of these videos next. Trust me, you'll want to see what we found. And by the way, we're dropping something wild about what Rihanna actually said behind closed doors about that thong. You do not want to miss that.